Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're skipping the fancy boutique bakeries and online delivery apps to take a massive step back in time. We are talking about the sheer, undeniable pantry alchemy of 1970s American desserts. You know, back then, an amazing sweet treat wasn't something you just casually picked up from some high-end shop. It was literally culinary magic, whipped up right there in the home kitchen. We're going to explore exactly how everyday home cooks took whatever random, simple ingredients were already sitting in their cupboards and turned them into absolute showstoppers that would silence an entire dinner table.
Okay, let's dive into this. $4. Yep, just $4. That is the cost of making a gorgeous, rich, old-fashioned tapioca pudding today. And honestly, the secret that nobody really talks about anymore, a simple $4 dessert that's actually made with a little bit of care will easily beat out most of those overpriced, overly complicated sweets you'll find in trendy modern bakeries. It really isn't about the price tag at all. It's all about the process.
And looking at this really hits the nail on the head. The contrast is kind of mind-blowing. In a typical 1970s home kitchen, you didn't have expensive stand mixers or fancy imported gadgets, and there were definitely no complex 10-step Instagram recipes to follow. It was 100% about pure resourcefulness. Contrast that with today's dessert culture, which is just dominated by high costs and crazy demands. But even without all that modern equipment, those 70s home kitchens were churning out absolute masterpieces.
That brings us to Section 1, the rise of convenience.
So, you might be wondering, if these budget-friendly desserts were so incredible, why aren't we still making them every single Sunday? Well, the truth is, they didn't vanish because they tasted bad. Not even close. They faded away because a massively booming convenience food industry started pushing a very specific, very loud narrative. They actively convinced people that baking from scratch was just way too hard, way too time-consuming, and honestly, just a chore. We lost a whole lot of kitchen magic just because of that marketing.
Moving right along to Section 2, no bake and fridge magic. We're going to bring some of that magic back right now by running through 25 phenomenal, totally forgotten American desserts. Let's kick things off with the fridge magic, treats that didn't even need an oven. First up, those legendary no-bake chocolate oat cookies. You could pull these together in minutes with nothing but cocoa, sugar, butter, and oats. Then you've got the icebox cake. This is where hard graham crackers literally transform into a soft, layered cake just by hanging out in the fridge. Pure magic. We also have lemon lush, which was notoriously the absolute first thing to vanish at any church gathering. And rounding out this fridge lineup, the ridiculously fast, creamy no-bake cheesecake, and of course, cherry delight, perfectly layered, served chilled, and built to feed a massive, hungry crowd.
All right, Section 3, strange mixes and sweet salads. Now, the 70s were also famous for giving us some, well, let's call them creatively weird yet deeply beloved concoctions. These were the undisputed legends of the potluck table. First is the Watergate salad. It's a genuinely strange but surprisingly delicious bright green mix of pudding, pineapple, marshmallows, and whipped topping. Next is the classic ambrosia salad, loading up on sweet canned fruit, shredded coconut, and yep, even more marshmallows. And we absolutely cannot forget the pure, delightful weirdness of dirt pudding. I mean, crushing up Oreos and chocolate to create edible soil and throwing in gummy worms? Absolute genius.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer cultural impact of our next treat, the jello poke cake. You'd literally poke holes into a baked cake, pour liquid, brightly colored jello over the top, and let it soak in to create these wild, vibrant stripes. The crazy part? It became such a massive overnight sensation that Jello was forced to print the recipe directly on their boxes. Why? Because their customer service phone lines were completely flooded with panicking home cooks asking how to make it. Now that is what I call real dessert influence.
Let's move on to Section 4, Pantry Chemistry and Bakes.
So moving away from the fridge, let's head straight to the oven and look at some pure, unadulterated kitchen science. How on earth do you bake a rich cake when your pantry is practically bare? Enter the wacky cake. This is a dessert made with 0 eggs, 0 milk, and 0 butter. None. It relies entirely on basic pantry chemistry, vinegar and baking soda to rise and come together. It's an absolute marvel of ingenuity, giving you this deliciously rich bake without any of the standard dairy or egg binders we basically assume are mandatory today.
Let's move to and see how this builds into even more inventive bakes. We've got the dump cake, where you literally just dump canned fruit and dry cake mix into a pan and bake it. Boom, done. Then there's chocolate cobbler. For this one, you actually pour boiling hot water right over the batter, and it magically creates its own thick, rich fudge sauce while it bakes. Mind-blowing, right? And tomato soup spice cake. Actually, scratch that hesitation, the tomato soup acts as a secret ingredient that makes the cake unbelievably moist and subtly sweet. We also have a deeply spiced, totally rich prune cake and applesauce cake, which stays wonderfully soft without needing much butter or oil at all. Seriously, the caramelization and the bold layering of this era were just unmatched. Take the iconic pineapple upside-down cake, baked in a skillet and then flipped over to reveal an absolute caramelized masterpiece. Or the oatmeal cake, which gets finished under the broiler with this deeply savory, crispy coconut frosting. Then you've got magic cookie bars, baking an entire beautiful slab of layered chocolate, coconut, and condensed milk into one perfect square. Dream bars, which were these incredibly rich coconut caramel squares straight out of local church cookbooks. And the super rustic, elegantly simple Brown Betty, stacking perfectly baked apples with crispy breadcrumbs and cinnamon.
To wrap up our list of 25, we are hitting the ultimate slow-cooked comfort classics. There's the old-fashioned tapioca pudding we talked about earlier, just slow-cooked on the stovetop until it's perfectly thick and creamy. Real, authentic banana pudding, none of that instant mix, made with actual homemade custard and layered with vanilla wafers. A warm, soothing bowl of slow-cooked rice pudding. Bread pudding served with a rich vanilla sauce, which was just the ultimate resourceful way to transform leftover, stale bread with so much care. And the grand finale, banana cream pie, stacked high with creamy custard, fresh bananas, whipped cream, and a flaky crust.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, the true secret ingredient.
When we step back and really look at all 25 of these amazing treats, we kind of have to strip away the sugar, the cocoa, and the canned pineapple to find what really made them tick. The quote here says it best: they were survival food, creativity, and love baked into simple ingredients. So the crucial point is that these desserts, they were never meant to be fancy. They were never about throwing a bunch of money at a high-end bakery. They were deeply meaningful creations born out of effort, attention, and a whole lot of care.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought for this explainer. If the absolute best, most memorable desserts truly require effort, attention, and love instead of just your hard-earned cash, what are you baking tonight? Go grab those simple pantry ingredients and let's bring some of that real kitchen magic back to life. Thanks so much for hanging out and exploring this with me today.